Good day, everyone. In our today's class, we are going to look at a question from Exponential equation under mathematics. Here is the question on the board. We have y raised to power 2y raised to power 8 is equal to 4. The question says we should find y. Now, in order to do this, you remember we always write solution first before we start solving the question. Solution. Now, to solve this, write out the question first. We have y raised to power 2y raised to power 8 raised to power 8 is equal to 4. Here is the question. Now, if you look at this question, y appears twice. We have y here having the power of 2y raised to power 8. Now, what we are going to do in order to solve this question, let's first of all make this y raised to power 8 to be a particular letter. Let's represent it to be a particular letter. What I mean by that is this. Let y raised to power 8 that is here, let it be a particular letter. That is, let y raised to power 8 equal to, let's choose A. Now, that is now this a raised to power y raised to power 8 is equal to, is now representing A. So here in this question now, we can replace this with A. In that regard, we have y raised to power 2A. But before that, let's first of all make this the subject, y the subject of formula in this equation. And this is an equation. Let's make y the subject of formula. To make y the subject of formula here, it means we want y to be alone without this power. In order to remove this power, what we can only do to remove the power is to multiply this, each of the power, that is the power here and the power here, by this 8. We want to remove this 8. We are going to multiply this, what we have here, with an inverse of this number that we have on this y. What is the number on the y? It is 8. So the inverse of it will be what? 1 over 8. We are going to multiply both the two powers with 1 over 8. Therefore, we are going to have this to be y raised to power 8 times 1. Remember, I said we are multiplying it with inverse of the number that we want to remove. We want to remove 8. Now, and that's equal to a raised to power. Remember, this will also be, you are multiplying this also with 1 over 8. The power on A also with 1 over 8. That is, you are multiplying both sides with 1 over 8. Now, this will cancel this. 8 will cancel it. You are going to left with what? Y is equal to a raised to power 1 over 8. Now, you've known now that your y is equal to a raised to power 1 over 8. Now, let's substitute for values. Let's substitute for values. Now, in this regard, we are going to have, now what we have here is y. And what is the value of y? Y is equal to a raised to power 8. So where we have y now, we are replacing it with what? A raised to power 1 over 8. Therefore, we are going to have this to be a raised to power 1 over 8. 1 over 8. This y now, we've replaced it with what? A raised to power 1 over 8, that we have to be the value of what? Y here. Now, remember, this y now have been replaced with a raised to power 1 over 8. Now, remember, we have trueness. Remember that this y raised to power 8 is also equal to A. So instead of writing a raised to power y raised to power 8, we are replacing it with what? A. Therefore, this place will be what? A. So, and that's equal to what? 4. Now, at this junction now, remember that this implies to be, if we apply this rule, remember, let's say we apply this double power law in indices. You know, double power law is as when we have m into, let's say, m raised to power a into b. This is what we call double power law in indices. Remember, it is the same thing as m raised to power a times what? B. So now, the same thing will be applicable to this. The same thing we did here is going to be the same thing we are going to do here. In that regard, we are going to have a raised to power 1 over 8 times what? 2 raised to power a. Now at this junction now, this will multiply, this is the same thing. Let me just make it this way. Now when we multiply, we are going to have 2a. Now this is a fraction. Let me put over 1 to the down of this, and that's equal to what? This 4. Now at this junction now, 1 will multiply 2a. We are going to have 2a. Then 8 times 1, that's going to give you what? 8. And that's equal to what? 4. 2 here 1, 2 here what? 4. Then you are going to have a raised to power a over what? Over 4 is equal to what? 4. Now at this junction now, we are going to do something. What's that thing? Now we want to remove this 4 so that we can have a. Now to remove this 4, now this is a fraction. When we have an whole number as a power here, remember to remove this 8, this 8 now. Earlier before I said to remove this a, that is going to be, you are going to multiply it with what? 1 over 8. Since this is a fraction, you are going to, and you want to remove the denominator, you are going to multiply this with what? An whole number, which is what? This 4. In that regard, you are going to multiply the two powers with what? Multiply both powers. Multiply both powers by 4. In that regard, you are going to have a raised to power a over 4 times what? 4. Both powers, that is power here and power here. And this what? 4 raised to power 4 here. This will cancel this. You are going to left with what? A raised to power a, and that's going to be what? 4 raised to power 4. You are doing comparison here. By doing comparison, that is, you are going to consider what this, remember this is a base and this is power. This is base, this is power. So what the base here is equal to what the base here. What the power here is equal to what the power here. In that regard, we should know that power, at the power side, we know that a is equal to 4. At the base side, a is also equal to 4. In that regard, a is equal to what? To 4. Now, with this, I haven't known that a is equal to 4. Remember, it's not a that we are asked to find, we are asked to find y. Now, we come back to this equation, this, where a is equal to y raised to power 8. Therefore, we have an equation that says a is equal to y raised to power 8. Do you get the point? Now, at this junction now, let me clean it. We have it to be y raised to power 8 is equal to a. Now, where we have a, we are replacing it with what? 4. Remember. Now, at this junction now, we want to remove this. To remove this one, the same thing applicable that we did here to this, to have our y separate, is what we are going to do here, because we are looking for y. In that regard, we are going to say y, we are going to say y raised to power 8 times what? To remove this 8, we multiply it with 1 over reciprocal of what? This value, which is 8, that is 1 over 8. And the same thing will be applicable to the other power too, that is 1 over 8. At this junction, this will cancel this. We are going to have your y to be equal to 4 raised to power 1 over 8. So therefore, the value of y is 4 raised to power 1 over 8. It is possible for us to, this is the final answer, this is the answer to y. But it is possible for us to check the value of that y. Is it correct? Is our answer correct? If you are checking for if the answer is correct, it is very simple to know if the answer is correct or not. You can simply use this simple approach. Here is the question. Here is the question. Just replace your y here with 4 raised to power 1 over 8, that your y is. And this place, remember, if you close the bracket, you have 2 next, abi? What's your y? Your y is still, is still 4. You close the bracket with 4 raised to power 1 over 8. Are you getting my point? At this junction now, we pause it. Let's check whether the answer we got is correct. Remember, the answer we got is y. We got y to be equal to 4 raised to power 1 over 8. Now, we want to input this in the original question to know whether the answer is correct. Remember, the original question is y raised to power 2y raised to the power of what? 8 is equal to 4. If we put this answer 4 raised to power 1 over 8 here, and at the end of the day we are able to arrive at 4, it means the answer we got is correct. Now let's look at it. Y is where? Here we have y, so we are replacing it with 4 raised to power 1 over 8 first. Then we have 2 next as a power. Then y next, remember the y still remains 4 raised to power 1 over 8. Then raised to the power of what? 8. Now at this point now, raised to the power of this 8, we only replace this y with the same 4 raised to power 1 over 8, then the 8 beside. This 8 we cancel this 8, then you'll be left with 4 raised to power 1 over 8, or into bracket 2 into what? 4. Since this has cancelled out this, you'll be left with 4. So in that regard, this time this will give us 8. Therefore, we are going to have 4 raised to power 1 over 8, all in brackets 8. We've multiplied this and this together, we got what? 8. Now this 8 will also cancel this 8. We are going to left with 4 raised to power what? 1, and that's equal to what? 4. It means the answer is what? Correct. Thank you, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you.